Hello, this is Loopline, and in this video I want to cover the additional optional identified list that comes with the auto-approved marketplace service. So you have the main verified list, which is obviously verified URLs, and then you also have an identified list, and I cover this on the main sales page, so I won't go into it in great depth, but basically I scrape a lot of targets obviously to make the verified list, and I sort those in. GSA SIR has the option to identify platforms and sort them in, and so I identify all the URLs and sort them by platform, and then I use those and go through them in one method that I do and check for verified lists, so verified links. So I am sharing that global identified folder that has millions and millions of identified targets in it. Now this can be a great option if you want to use things like reCaptcha or text captcha, or if you're looking to focus on particular platforms, because the main verified list is Captcha Breaker only. So sometimes Captcha Breaker is weak on some captchas that certain platforms might use, and so there may not be a lot in there, whereas really there's a lot of targets out there available for those platforms. Or it might be reCaptcha or text captcha or other captchas that Captcha Breaker doesn't even support, that another service like reverse captcha or Spamvilla or some other service may support. So you can use all those services and options in GSA SIR and then use them with the identified list to pick up targets that you cannot get from the main verified list, because the main verified list is Captcha Breaker only. So there's a lot of reasons why you'd want to use an identified list. It is optional. You do not have to use it. And overall, it could actually slow down your links per minute, so bear that in mind, because if you are using the identified list, it's going to use targets and some are going to succeed and others are going to fail. Whereas if you're using the verified list, I've already taken all that work out of it, and so the verified list is going to provide a faster links per minute, but you actually can get more contextual links if you use both the verified list and the identified list, and if you're using captcha services like reCaptcha and text captcha specifically, especially those two, you can get targets from the identified list that aren't even going to show up, contextual targets that aren't even going to show up in the verified list. So while this will slow down your total links per minute, it can help you get good quality links that aren't necessarily available in the main verified list. And obviously quality over quantity is what will help you rank in Google these days. So if you know that you want to use the identified list and you know why you want to use it, then go ahead and finish this video. If you're not sure that you want to use it, then you really don't need to watch the rest of this video. I assume in this video that you have already watched the Blue Box Sync setup video for the verified list, so I'm not going to recover everything. I'm just going to cover the very basics. You'll get an invitation for the verified list. You'll also get an invitation for the real-time identified list, which it will look something like this. You're going to click accept the invite, and you're going to follow through and set it all up. Once it gets all set up, just like you do with in the main Blue Box Sync setup video, you'll have this, which is the verified, or this, which is the verified list, and then you'll have the new auto-approved marketplace real-time identified folder. What we're also going to need to do is again sync this to our computer, just like we do with the real-time folder in the Blue Box setup video. So we're going to sync folder to computer. Yes, we want to sync it, and then when we go to our actual computer and look here, we will see that it is synced up, and let me pull that up so we can see all of the files are syncing in and that sort of thing. And so in SIR, to use this, we want to do a couple of things. We're going to edit the project just like we do in the main Blue Box setup. I recommend using the identified slot for this, which probably makes a lot of sense because it's an identified list. It's going to be slot 1. If you do this, you want to make sure that you do not use GSA's built-in identify and sort in on your own lists, because again, when you do that, it will try to overwrite the ones in this folder and it could potentially erase them altogether, and then you're losing the very list that you pay for. So plus it'll get in a conflict where my server will try to fix your server because you're overwriting the files, and it'll try to fix it the way that it is on my server, and what will happen is you could get a lot of resources used and it could just delete all the files out of there, and your SIR could actually SIR probably won't get locked up, but it could lock up the box sync and cause other issues for you, and it's just not something you really want to do since you're paying for the list anyway. So if you want to use your own list and identify and sort in your own list, then don't use this identified slot. Use something like the failed slot. I recommended you use the submitted slot for slot 2 here for the verified list. And for this identified list, you could use slot 1 identified or slot 4 failed. It's up to you. I'm going to assume I'm going to use the identified list here because with millions and millions of targets, at the time of this video, there's 3.9 million targets in the identified list. So, and that's growing constantly, and will shortly be in the millions and millions. So you probably don't need to add any more to it. However, if you want to, you can, of course, use your own identified list, in which case you're going to use the failed slot. So I'm going to choose identified, and let's say I wanted to use both identified and the verified, just like I set it up originally, then I would choose both these. If I had a project where I only wanted to use the identified list, obviously I'm only going to check that. If I had a project where I only wanted to use the verified list, obviously I'm only going to check that. And then, of course, you have to actually set up that identified folder. So in the other video, we set up the submitted folder to work with the auto-approve real-time list, the verified folder. In the identified case, if you're going to use the failed folder, we'd set it up here. Obviously, if we're going to use identified folder, we'd set it up here. And let me get that open for you. And so I went ahead and set that up, and you can see it's set up to BoxSync AAM real-time identified folder, and that will then of course map to that folder, and when you set it up in your project options, it will pull from that folder. Another thing, of course, in your global options, make sure that you do not have whatever slot you use, that you do not have this box checked, because if you have it checked, GSA SIR will try to write to that folder, and again, you'll be overwriting the very list that you're paying for, the identified list. Same thing with verified, of course. Make sure that's not checked. You'll be overwriting that list. And then also, if you do use the cleanup feature under Tools, which you can use on your list to do various things, when you choose cleanup, make sure that you do not choose any list that you're using with my service. So if you want to clean up your verified list, fine. But if you use the identified slot, or say you use the failed slot 4 here for the identified list, make sure that's not checked. And if you're using the submitted as the verified slot, make sure that's not checked. So only clean up lists that you're going to work with, because SIR will then try to edit these folders, and it will edit the BoxSync files, and then you're going to clean up and destroy, erase, alter the very list that you're paying for. Obviously, that doesn't make sense either. So just a couple of warnings there to help make things go a lot smoother for you. And at the time of the video, the identified list is only updated 1 to 2 times a day. I can make it update faster than that, but it is very large, and so for some users to move the quantity of files that it is and constantly update those, it slowed things down. So for the moment, it's updating a couple times a day, but really there's millions and millions of targets there, so getting an update 1 to 2 or 3 or 4 times a day shouldn't be that big of a deal. The verified list is a live list, whereas the identified list is updated a couple of times a day or so. And so that is why you would want to use the identified list. And how you set it up, remember, don't check the boxes in the global list or when you're using the cleanup option. And when you want to set up the project, just go into options and make sure that you have your global slot enabled for whichever you want to use there. And be sure to check out the other videos on optimal settings and that sort of thing that are in the members area as well. And that is the optional extra identified list from Auto Approve Marketplace. Also, check out these other useful videos that I've made.